Okay, imagine this for a second. A private image, maybe something, you shared thinking it was safe, and then suddenly, bam, it's online, everywhere. That feeling, that awful drop in your stomach, losing control over your own image, your own story. It's a total nightmare. And, well, it's happening more and more. So today, we're going to take a really important look at a new federal law. It's called the Take It Down Act, and it's designed to fight exactly that problem. It's about protecting privacy, sure, but also dignity, especially when we're talking sensitive or explicit content. And crucially, it tackles not just real photos, but also the whole new world of AI-generated stuff, deepfakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And our mission today really is to cut through all the dense legal language. We want to get to the heart of what this act actually is, how it's supposed to work, and maybe the most interesting part, how it connects with existing intellectual property laws, things like copyright,
Yeah.
because that combination offers a much stronger shield for people online than we've really had before.
A stronger shield. Okay.
Exactly. We want to show you how these different legal ideas, which might seem separate, are now actually working together for your protection. And just so you know, our discussion is informed by insights from the Take It Down Act, Privacy and IP in the Digital Age, which really breaks down this legislation.
Okay, good. So let's dive in. What exactly is this Take It Down Act? I mean, what's the core problem it's trying to fix?
Right. So at its core, it's a really significant federal law. Its main goal is protecting people, especially minors, from having explicit images shared online without their consent. It's tackling that horrible violation of privacy head on.
Okay.
And a really big piece of this, maybe the most practical piece, is that it forces websites, platforms, social media, hosting sites. It requires them to set up a standardized, streamlined way for people to request removal.
Well, that's huge because wasn't it kind of a Wild West before? Like every site had its own impossible process.
Exactly. It was often a maze, confusing, slow. This mandates a clear, unified path. So hopefully it makes it much, much easier for victims to actually get the content down.
Makes sense. Much needed.
And it's important to stress the scope here. It explicitly covers both real images and AI-generated content.
Right, you mentioned deepfakes.
Yes, deepfakes, those synthetic videos or images that look incredibly real that aren't. And other kinds of manipulated media, too. Anything that depicts someone, often in a compromising way without their permission. That's a major step dealing with the rise of generative AI.
Okay, so the focus is clearly on consent, especially for these sensitive images. That feels very direct.
Yeah.
But like you hinted, it does sound like it brushes up against existing laws. How does it fit with something like the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act? Most people have probably heard of that for takedowns.
Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely builds on older frameworks like the DMCA, no doubt about it. But, and this is key, it represents a really fundamental shift in emphasis, a big one.
Okay, how so?
Well, the DMCA, it was primarily designed for copyright holders. You own the copyright to a photo, a song, whatever, and you could use the DMCA to get copies taken down if they were infringing your rights.
Right, owner focus.
Exactly, owner focused. But think about the problem with non-consensual images. Often, the person in the photo didn't take the photo. So under the old system, if someone else took that explicit photo and shared it, the victim, the person in the photo, might not actually own the copyright.
So they couldn't use the DMCA effectively.
Precisely. That was a massive gap. The Take It Down Act changes that entirely. It puts the emphasis squarely on personal rights, on dignity, and crucially, on consent. It's less about who technically owns the copyright to the image and much more about whether the person depicted consented to it being shared. That's the game changer.
Wow. Okay, that is a big shift. It's about the person's rights, not just property rights.
Yeah.
You can see why that's such a crucial distinction for people affected by this. But, okay, if the act is focused on consent and personal rights, where does that leave intellectual property law, like copyright, or you mentioned something called right of publicity? Do those just not matter anymore in these cases, or how do they interact?
No, they definitely still matter. That's a really important point. IP law plays a vital sort of complementary role here. It works alongside the Take It Down Act, especially when the content involves someone's original creation or their likeness.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, let's take copyright first. We just talked about the problem. Usually, the photographer owns the copyright, not the subject.
Right.
The Take It Down Act fixes the main problem by letting the subject request removal based on lack of consent.
Yeah.
But what if the victim did take the photo? Like maybe it was a selfie they took.
Okay. So then they do own the copyright.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In that case, they could potentially use both the Take It Down Act and a traditional DMCA copyright claim. It gives them another tool, another angle of attack, essentially augmenting their efforts.
Got it. So multiple paths, potentially.
Right. Then there's the right of publicity. This is a bit different. It's another kind of IP protection. It basically gives individuals control over how their image, their name, their likeness are used commercially for profit.
Okay, commercial use.
Yeah. So think about that deepfake example again. If someone creates a deepfake video of a celebrity, say, endorsing a product without permission, that celebrity likely has a claim under the Take It Down Act if the content is explicit or harmful in that way. And they likely have a separate claim under right of publicity laws because their likeness is being used commercially without consent.
So they could sue for damages based on that commercial use, potentially, on top of getting it taken down.
Potentially, yes. It creates this kind of powerful dual defense privacy protection and IP protection working together.
That overlap is really interesting. It feels like our image, our likeness itself, is becoming a recognized asset, legally speaking,
Yeah.
separate from who clicked the button.
Yeah.
But what about that AI stuff again, the purely synthetic images where there isn't an original photo being copied? You said copyright struggles there.
That's right. And that's where traditional IP law really hits a wall sometimes. Generative AI makes things tricky. Deepfakes, other altered images, they use someone's likeness, but they often aren't direct copies of an existing copyrighted photo. They're new creations synthesized by AI.
So there's nothing to claim copyright infringement on, technically.
Exactly. It makes standard copyright enforcement really difficult, if not impossible in some cases. But again, this is where the Take It Down Act steps in so effectively. It kind of bypasses that whole "is it a copy" question. It focuses instead on the intent and the effect of the content. Is it depicting a real person? Is it explicit or harmful in the ways the act defines? Was it shared without consent?
Regardless of how it was made.
Precisely. It closes that loophole by focusing on the harm and the lack of consent, not the technicalities of copyright infringement.
Okay, but just playing devil's advocate for a second.
Yeah.
Could that accidentally stifle artists? You know, people using AI creatively to make new things, maybe inspired by someone, but not trying to fake something explicit. How does the act avoid overreach?
That's a really fair question, and it's about the act's specific focus. It's narrowly tailored. It targets non-consensual sharing of explicit images or certain other harmful depictions like deepfake pornography. It's not intended to regulate, general artistic expression or transformative uses of AI that don't involve exploiting someone's likeness in an explicit, non-consensual way.
So the explicit and non-consensual parts are really key guardrails.
Absolutely. The focus is squarely on preventing that specific type of harm, not policing AI art broadly.
Got it. Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this mean for just, regular people trying to navigate the internet? It sounds like a much more coordinated legal shield is forming.
That's a great way to put it. What's really fascinating, I think, is seeing how the Take It Down Act and intellectual property laws are acting as truly complementary tools now. Because, let's be honest, relying only on IP law copyright, right of publicity, wasn't always enough, especially for fast relief.
Right, like trying to play whack-a-mole with takedown notices.
Exactly. It can be slow, expensive, and incredibly difficult when harmful content spreads like wildfire online. Copyright claims take time. The Take It Down Act fills that critical gap. It provides a federal privacy framework specifically designed for quicker removal of this harmful content, importantly, regardless of who technically owns the copyright.
So it's the emergency brake, in a way.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at the bigger picture, this blending of privacy rights and IP principles, it's becoming essential. As technology keeps evolving, digital platforms keep changing, the law has to adapt. And the future likely involves more of this kind of integration, making sure both creative rights and personal dignity are protected online.
Okay, so just to quickly recap then, the Take It Down Act is a major step forward, really strengthening personal rights online. And it works with existing IP laws, not replacing them, to create a more robust defense against non-consensual content, especially important now with all the AI-generated media out there.
Precisely. And maybe here's something to think about as we wrap up. As this technology, AI, keeps getting better, keeps blurring the lines between what we see as real and what's synthetic, how does that change our ideas? Our ideas about ownership of our likeness, about what consent really means in a digital world? And looking ahead, what other legal tools or frameworks might we need? What more might be required to truly empower people when their image can be manipulated so easily?
That's a heavy question, definitely something to ponder. Where do we draw the lines as this tech evolves?
It's the ongoing challenge, isn't it? Keeping law and ethics in step with innovation.